one of the things that can destroy our relationship quicker than anything is when there's a lack of trust. And that usually comes if there's any deceit or covering, even on little things. I think in terms of protection, the great key is maintaining a clear conscience right there first. I mean, it's what you did, clearing your conscience with your wife. But on a daily basis, we're gonna blow it. We're gonna sin. But if our wives know that we are quick to the cross and we are quick to them in humility and transparency, I think it builds trust. And they also know that if we don't do that, I tell you, my wife has, I don't know about you guys, but my wife has incredible discernment about my sin and deceit in my life, just little areas that I'm covering. And it starts to erode the trust. And I put her in a real tough position, because to be submissive and responsive to me as a leader, if she knows that I'm not right with the Lord, is a real, I'm not protecting her well that way.
A few things. One is honest, transparent, humble communication. Communication, what I talked about last night was I had to be broken. The kind of communication I had was I thought we were communicating. She didn't. And the reason was because I was arrogant. And that was the sin that I saw in myself. And I had to be broken before God, where I esteemed her view and her opinion, and I valued it more than mine. And that is rooted in humility. And doing that, practicing that on a regular basis, we go out now and talk about the deep things of our hearts, and I've had to learn to listen. And we preachers, we're great at telling people, and we're terrible at listening, and I had to learn to listen and esteem her opinion more highly. Second thing is, there's a group of guys around me, board of directors of our ministry, that have the right, the liberty to probe and ask me anything they want to ask me. And also, they have set boundaries around me, and they can probe and ask if I'm violating those boundaries. A third thing is that one of the things is my wife travels with me everywhere I go. But there are occasions in which, for one reason or another, that does not happen. My wife was coming home from Brazil. I was going on to South Africa by myself, and I received an email from the guy who was wearing the ring. And this is what God used in his life to begin to deal with him, because he sent me an email and said this lady would be picking me up at the airport. And I said, wait a minute. I called him and I said, we can't do this, because my board has said that I can't be, and I don't want to be, in a car anywhere alone with another woman besides my wife when my wife is not with me. Therefore, I said, I don't know how that sounds to you, if that sounds, like 15th century or whatever, but that's the conviction that we've got, and I just can't do that. So somehow you're going to have to make other arrangements for someone to pick me up at the airport. And he was stunned. And there was silence on the phone for a minute. And then he said to me, well, there was another guy who was the co-chairman of this thing with me, and he left his wife this past year. And he says, maybe God's saying something to us. And that's when he began to think about his relationship with his wife. And that one act did that. But what that did too was that built a great deal of trust with my wife. Talking about trust, my wife knows that I have these convictions and these hedges that I placed around my ministry and my life, that I'm not going to just allow myself to get in a position where I would be vulnerable. And I think that is I think all of us, if we're serious about revival, need to have some hedges.